There is a specific sound to hitting rock bottom. It isn't a loud crash. It is the deafening silence of 3 a.m. when you are staring at the ceiling, realizing you have destroyed something you can never put back together. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was a career. Maybe it was a secret habit you swore to God you had conquered, only to find yourself back in the mud, disgusted with your own reflection. You aren't just sorry. You are ashamed, and there is a massive difference. Guilt tells you that you made a mistake. Shame screams that you are the mistake. You feel like you've blown it permanently. You feel like God is looking at you with anger. But what if I told you that this catastrophic failure is actually a prerequisite for your upgrade? Welcome to Faith Systems. Today, we are not doing a Bible study. We are doing an autopsy on betrayal. We are going to look at the man who messed up more publicly than anyone in history, and how he walked out of the wreckage not as a failure, but as a legend. This is his story, and it's your story. Let's cut to the darkest night of the 1st century. We are talking about the patron saint of messing everything up, Simon Peter. You have to understand Peter's profile. He was the main character. He was the one walking on water, while others stayed in the boat. He was the first to identify Jesus as the Messiah. Just hours before the crash, he was the one pounding his chest, promising Jesus, "Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death. Even if everyone else leaves you, I never will." He wasn't lying. He meant it. He trusted his willpower, just like you trusted that you could quit that addiction or fix that marriage on your own strength. He thought his love was enough to sustain his loyalty. But he was wrong. There is a detail in this story that is easy to miss, but psychologically devastating. John 18:18 mentions that because it was cold, the servants and officials stood around a fire of coals they had made to keep warm. Peter was standing with them. In the glow of that red fire, amidst the choking smell of smoke, the collapse happened. Not once, not twice, 3 times. A servant girl, just a girl, points at him and says, "You are one of them." In that second, fear hit him like ice water. Peter, the rock, crumbled into dust. He uttered the most heartbreaking words in history. "I do not know him." And instantly, the rooster crowed. Luke records a shot that would make a Hollywood director weep. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Eye contact. Across the courtyard, it wasn't a look of anger. If it were anger, Peter could have taken it. It was worse. It was absolute sadness. It was heartbreak. Peter went out and wept bitterly. This wasn't just crying. This was the sound of a man's soul being torn in half. He hadn't just betrayed his rabbi. He had betrayed himself. He realized he wasn't the warrior he thought he was. He was a coward. He was a fraud. He had ruined everything. Imagine the silence of the next few days. The Saturday. Jesus is dead, buried. But Peter isn't just grieving a friend. He is grieving his own identity. Shame is lethal. Shame says, "You are disqualified. You don't deserve to be loved. You should rot in this dark corner." Maybe that is where you are right now. That is why you can't pray. That is why going to church feels like hypocrisy. You feel you've used up your strikes. You think, if they knew what I did, they would never look at me the same way. But the story doesn't end there. This is where grace gets aggressive. After the resurrection, Peter does something very human, he says, "I am going fishing." It sounds simple, but the psychological subtext is devastating. It means, I resign, I quit. I am not an apostle anymore. I am going back to what I was before I met Jesus. I am retreating to my comfort zone, because at least there, I cannot mess up. Sound familiar? When you fail, does your instinct tell you to retreat into old addictions, into isolation, into the safe, numb shell of your old life? Peter and the disciples fish. all night and catch nothing. A poetic symbol. When you retreat to your old life carrying shame, you find no life there. It's empty. Morning comes. A man stands on the shore. It is Jesus. Look at the set design. This is masterclass psychotherapy. When Peter swims to shore, what does he see? John 21:9 says, when they landed, they saw a fire of coals there. A charcoal fire. In the entire New Testament, this specific Greek word Anthrakia appears only twice. The first time was in the courtyard where Peter denied Jesus. The second time is right here. Jesus recreated the scene of the crime. This was intentional. Jesus created a sensory trigger. The smell of the charcoal, the crackle of the wood, the heat, it instantly transported Peter back to that night of shame. Jesus wasn't avoiding the failure. He was walking right into it. He was saying, "We are going to heal you right where you broke." This is spiritual militaristic psychotherapy. Jesus didn't say, "It is okay, Peter, don't worry about it." He didn't say, "You traitor, how could you?" He made breakfast. He served Peter. In that moment, Peter didn't need a sermon. He needed evidence of acceptance. And then Jesus asked 3 questions. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? 3 denials. 3 affirmations. Jesus was reprogramming Peter's soul. Every time Peter said, "You know I love you," Jesus was overriding the "I do not know him." It wasn't a trial. It was surgery. Surgery hurts, but it's the only way to remove the cancer. Jesus wasn't just forgiving Peter. He was recommissioning him. He said, "Feed my sheep." Translation: Peter, you messed up, but you are not fired. In fact, because you have been broken, you are now finally qualified to lead. Because now you know that your strength doesn't come from your willpower. It comes from my grace. Here is the ultimate guide for you. You think your failure disqualifies you? In this faith system, if processed correctly, your failure is your qualification. A soldier who has never bled cannot comfort the dying. A man who has never wept in the middle of the night cannot understand the weight of grace. Your brokenness is the crack where the light gets in. We are standing at the edge of 2025, looking into 2026. Many of you are limping toward the finish line of this year, carrying a bag full of regrets, secrets, and shame. Listen to me. Do not drag that garbage into the new year. The enemy, the accuser, has one tactic. He uses sin to create shame, and shame to create hiding, because he knows that as long as you are hiding in the dark, you are ineffective. This is why Judas and Peter ended differently. Judas had remorse, but he chose isolation, which led to death. Peter chose to swim to the shore, to the very person he betrayed. The only difference is direction. When you mess up, do you run from God, or do you run a him? Do not waste your pain. Do not let your shame become a prison. Let it become a platform. You have to re-identify yourself. If you are still warming your hands by the charcoal fire of your past failure, it is time to stand up. Speak this over yourself. I am not my failure. I am not my addiction. I am not my past. That image of the perfect, never failing you is dead. Let it die. That was an idol anyway. What stands now is a warrior scarred, limping, but deeply loved and dangerous to the enemy. God doesn't need perfect heroes. He needs honest followers. Right now, as this video ends, make the exchange. Throw the weight of that secret onto the charcoal fire. Jesus has breakfast waiting. New Year is waiting. Stop staring at the empty net. Swim to the shore. This is Faith Systems. We don't fake perfection, we pursue truth. If you see yourself in this story, type "I am ashore" in the comments. Let it be a prophetic act that you are done hiding. I'll see you next time. Stay strong.